Luna Park is one of Australia's premier amusement parks, located in Sydney Harbour. The park was inspired by the popularity of the original Luna Park, which was first established on Coney Island. The concept was taken to Australia by the American businessman Herman Phillips and his associates, opening locations in Melbourne, Glenelg and Sydney during the 1930s. Luna Park Sydney features dozens of rides and attractions and has been visited by millions since it has been in operation. However, there's a dark chapter to its past, which still haunts the legacy of Sydney Luna Park to this day. This is the true story of the Ghost Train fire and how it took the lives of the innocent. This is lesser known history. The Ghost Train was a very popular attraction at the park from the 1930s to the late 1970s. The ride was first constructed in 1931 and transported from its original location in Glenelg to Milsons Point in 1935. Riders would travel along a train track through a dark building, containing various special effects such as sounds and lights being used to entertain and scare the passengers. On June 9th, 1979, at approximately 10:15 p.m, a fire broke out inside of the Luna Park Ghost Train. The inability of the park's fire hose system to adequately cover the Ghost Train, combined with inadequate water pressure and insufficient staffing, contributed to the fire's ability to completely consume the ride. It took an hour to put out the fire, but thankfully it was extinguished before it could have caused significant damage to the river caves or the Big Dipper rides. When the heavy smoke started to seep out of the tunnel doors, there were around 35 passengers on the ride, according to estimates. As soon as the carriages emerged from the tunnel, the ride attendants raised their alarm and began evacuating. The disorientating tunnel inside the Ghost Train, still unmarked with exit signage, meant that the possibility of escape, especially for young children, was severely limited. A fire ventilation expert who inspected the Ghost Train in 1977 described the interior. "It was a maze. I think most people know what a maze is. Pitch dark. I went in there when the maintenance lights are on, and I had to find out what material was being used in there. It was timber, all painted black. As a matter of fact, even with the lights on, I was bumping into the partitions and the wall. It was a timber ceiling. I would have got lost even with the lights on. The only way I could keep going was to follow the railway track." At first, it was believed that everyone had been able to escape the fire. However, this was not the case. At approximately 11:30 p.m, the bodies of 7 people, John Goodson, his 2 children Craig and Damien, as well as 4 Waverley College students, named Richard Carroll, Seamus Rahili, Jonathan Billings, and Michael Johnson, were discovered inside the ride. At the time of the incident, the investigating police had a theory that the 7 people had gotten out of their automobiles and made unsuccessful attempts to get out of the tunnel. If they had stayed in their vehicles, they might have been able to survive the fire.
Although an electrical fault is believed to have triggered the blaze, police, fire and Department of Labour and Industry officials were on the site once again today, sifting through the ruins. Many questions surrounding the tragic fire still remain unanswered.
Coroner Kevin Anderson made the startling discovery that the administration of Luna Park had not developed an adequate fire control strategy, despite being advised to do so 18 months earlier by the North Sydney Council and the Fire Department. Anderson's assessment stated that even though the park's owners and management had broken their duty of care to guests, the breach did not warrant criminal prosecution since there was a lack of evidence for the cause of the fire. Prior to the incident, a Sydney design consultant stated that in December 1977, after inspecting the park for future improvements, he had suggested to the management of Luna Park that they should install a sprinkler system in the Ghost Train. The advice was disregarded and ignored. 1987 saw the beginning of a new phase in the investigation into the fire, being conducted by the government's National Crime Authority. Even though no new evidence was presented, it was concluded that both the coroner's investigation and the police investigation into the occurrence had been insufficient. The cause of the fire has never been established, despite the fact that a number of hypotheses have been proposed to explain it. These hypotheses range from faulty wiring to intentional sabotage in an effort to force the park's closure and dismantlement. Anne Buckingham, a niece of the notorious underworld figure Abe Saffron in Sydney, made the claim in an interview with the Sydney Morning Herald in May 2007 that her uncle was the one who caused the fire. Despite continuously denying responsibility for the ghost train fire, Saffron was linked to 7 further arson attacks in the 2 years that followed. Buckingham stated that the tragedy was part of a plan for Saffron to take over the lease for Luna Park, although she believed that the 7 deaths were not planned. According to former park artist Martin Sharp, Saffron had approached Luna Park's owner Ted Hopkins prior to the fire and made an offer to purchase the amusement park, which Hopkins declined. New South Wales MP Michael John Hatton asserted in 1985 that Saffron had no beneficial ownership of the park, leading to an inquiry that found, despite the fact that Saffron's relatives were involved in providing pinball and arcade games to Luna Park, Saffron was not connected to the ownership of the park. Despite the Herald's allegation that Buckingham's original comments were tape recorded during a face-to-face interview, Buckingham later denied making the remarks that were attributed to her and demanded the story not be published. Luna Park constructed a memorial garden in 1995, but its fixtures were removed during the park's 2003 renovation. In its place, a plaque containing the names of those who died was installed at the side of the ride, but the mural that was to surround it was never completed. North Sydney Council established a separate memorial park in 2007 in order to honour the victims. A plaque honouring 4 of the boys who perished in the fire is located in the chapel at Waverley College. The memorial has a photograph of each boy and a plaque bearing their names. Luna Park Sydney remains an extremely popular and profitable attraction in the city of Sydney, with over 1 million visitors passing through its gates each year. No further deaths have occurred at the amusement park in the decades since the ghost train fire. Thank you for watching this episode of Lesser Known History. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you.